Hi guys and girls, it's Harry McKenzie from Visordown.com, and I'm testing out these two new bikes on offer from Honda in Tenerife. So to my right, we've got the CBR500R, and to my left, we've got the CB500F. So really, it's easier to start with what's different about these bikes. There's not much. So with the F, obviously you've got the naked, the higher bars, no front fairing, and the fuel mapping is slightly different as well. So it's just got a little bit more mid-end boost than the R, which has a little bit more top end in terms of fueling. So I'll start with the CBR500R, as this is the first bike that I rode today. And we've been riding around sort of mountain roads, tight twisties, and just getting used to the bikes and seeing how they feel. And in all honesty, there's not much to nitpick at this bike. It's very well thought out. It feels very stable through the corners. You know, some of the features include a rear monoshock, which is a single piston monoshock, and feels fine. You know, the back end feels stable. The front feels nice and stable through corners, mid-corner. You know, one sneaking suspicion I did have about this was that single front disc. So as we rode through the mountain roads, I was slightly concerned at the sort of braking performance of it at first, but those were put to bed. Through the sort of tighter roads where I really need a bit of braking power, two-finger braking, it's ideal. And you know, you can one-finger brake as well, which is great. And I suppose next would be the style of the thing. It's a lot more racy than the older version. You know, the clip-ons are underneath the yoke now, so they are raised a few inches, but again, they're tucked below the yoke, so you know, it's given that sort of more sporty aesthetic. The front end, you'd be hard pressed at distance not to think this was a Fireblade, and yeah, I think it looks great. It's got some real presence on the road, complete LED front headlights, all LEDs actually all around the bike, including indicators and rear tail light. And yeah, the quality of the bike is spectacular. Really, it's really well put together. So next is, you know, the gearbox. See, with the 500cc engine, which is at 35 kilowatts, so it's A2 compliant, the gearbox is actually parts of it are derived from the CBR600RR. And you can actually really feel it. The gearbox feels absolutely sweet. You know, I'm not the best shifter in the world, and it still went into gear. Smooth as you like, no issues at all, no false neutrals throughout the whole day. And believe you me, on these tight twisty roads, you are shifting gear quite a lot. Okay, so I'll start with my really only real bugbear, which is the mirrors are a little bit hard to adjust. They seem quite far out. That's not something that I'm used to, so it just took me a little bit of time to get used to the mirrors, and you know, a couple of tucked elbows here and there. And the second being the rear brake. It feels a little bit mushy to me personally. Compared to the front brake, which feels so sharp and to the point and had no fade at all throughout the day, it just felt as if the rear was just lacking ever so slightly. So in terms of the ABS system on the brakes, it's actually almost like non-interference really. You can't really feel it activating through the lever, unlike some more traditional older systems. This is a newer ABS system from Honda, and it works sweet. You know, you really can enjoy riding a motorcycle without feeling as if it's interfering with the ride, which is great. So I'll move on to the CB500F. Now, this was the second bike that I rode, and as I say, it shares much of the same hardware as the R. Front brake feels great, rear feels a little mushy. The gears are sweet as anything, so the engine's all the same. One thing again on both bikes that I think is really, really great is actually the really light clutch. It's super, super light, shifts into gear every time, just a little flick. I found that first gear it did require just a little bit of clutch just to get it into second, because it's quite an aggressive gear at first. But the power delivery throughout all the gears, particularly second and third is epic. It's completely linear. It's got a little boost at 5.5 grand, and you can just really have a ball. You can just really open it up. The F with the higher handlebars just feels a little bit more nimble than the R, and on the tighter stuff, you know, it's obviously a bit more flickable. So that's quite useful on the mountain roads. But if you're kind of on straighter UK roads, I'd probably start to veer towards the R, because it's just a bit stable, more stable, sort of longer sweepers and stuff like that. I suppose going to the back of the bike, again, the exhaust is shared with the R and the F. It's a twin port pipe, which is redesigned, and I spoke to one of the Honda engineers, and it's been redesigned just to sound better, and it actually does. I'm genuinely surprised that there's a silencer on a bike that actually sounds half decent. So the exhaust is actually half decent, and you get a bit of overrun when you come off. You know, you've been revving quite high. It revs up to about sort of 9,500. You know, come off the throttle. When it drops down to the low revs, you get this little sort of pop and bangs, which is really sweet. And it's going to sound even better if you were to put an aftermarket can on. And in terms of aftermarket accessories and genuine Honda accessories, rather, you know, it's got plenty to offer. USB port, charging port, tank pads, tank bags, top box. So I suppose I'll start with the damage. So the R model is just coming in at just under £6,100, and the F model is just under £5,600. So there's a little bit of a price difference there, and really it depends on what style you prefer. They both feel great. There's very little sort of niggly issues that I can really, you know, I have been really trying hard to nitpick this bike, but it's so well put together. There's really not much to say on that matter. And you know, who would this bike suit? Well, it is A2 compliant, and you know, you could say it would suit a new rider that's stepping up from a 125. I think, you know, most definitely, but also anyone that's a bit tired of racing around on a 650 or a 600 or something a bit racy and just wants something to poodle about on and have fun. This is perfect. You know, it's definitely fills that gap, and is definitely something you should consider. So yeah, that's pretty much my brief review on the CBR500R and the CB500F. So Harry McKenzie reporting for Visordown.com. Have a good day.